Welcome to Tima podcast, and there is a lot to get into today. Today is a really big episode. I do apologize for the delay. Obviously, we had the Ballon d'Or ceremony, and we have some big news there with Rodri winning it. And of course, we're also going to focus on the Premier League because some big things have happened with Manchester United. Of course, I've been covering the whole Erik ten Hag saga quite a lot, and it has indeed reached a finale. Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, lots of stuff to get into. Let's get right into it. Rodri wins the men's 2024 Ballon d'Or covering last season. So obviously that covers last season, doesn't cover this beginning of the season. Unfortunately, he did get his ACL injury. So even as a Liverpool fan, as a rival fan, it feels heartwarming to see Rodri to win that award with that injury. He's on crutches. I hope he recovers and I wish him all the best. As football fans, I think it's always important to be humane and be compassionate because being ruled out for the whole season, having surgery, having this injury is really, really difficult for him. And I do feel sorry for him and I do wish him all the best. So I'm glad for Rodri. I think seeing a defensive midfielder win the Ballon d'Or is really nice. It's a nice change from just big name players and attackers. Finally, we see a DM winning the award. I think Van Dijk should have won it in 2019. I think Salah should have been in conversation way more times, but I'm very glad that Rodri wins it. I think it's undeniably his impact in the season is huge. But the talking point actually isn't Rodri. It's more of the fact how Vinny did not win it. Because going into this ceremony, the expectation was that Vinny will win the Ballon d'Or. Carlo Ancelotti said it himself. It was the favorite. He was the favorite, and it was almost like accepted that Vinny will win the Ballon d'Or. It wasn't even like a debate. And then this morning we got the news that Real Madrid are not traveling to the ceremony. So Vinny, Dani Carvajal, Jude are all in the top 4 of the Ballon d'Or. Vinny's second place, but none of them will travel to the ceremony. They weren't there. Carlo Ancelotti also, who won the men's manager of the year, he also is not traveling. So Real Madrid really kind of embargoing the ceremony, showing how they're really dissatisfied with what has happened. And I don't really support that. I think it's a bit petty from Real Madrid. I do understand that they do feel robbed. Vinny had a fantastic season. He scored a lot of goals. He scored a goal in the Champions League final. And it's probably very gutting for him to not win the Ballon d'Or. It would be a phenomenal achievement for him to win the Ballon d'Or, to be like Benzema, Modric, be on that level of Ballon d'Or worthy. Although I will admit that the Ballon d'Or has lost a lot of its credibility. It seems to be awarded more of on the basis of name and fame rather than actual ability and achievement in the season. It's a lot of trophy counting, and that's why, for instance, Mohamed Salah bizarrely not in the Ballon d'Or rankings despite clearly having the merit. If you look at his goals and assists, he more than deserves to be there. But of course, the Ballon d'Or is not based on logic, it's more based on emotion. But look, there is a lot of controversy around this. A lot of people are really dissatisfied. When they were announcing the Ballon d'Or winner, some people actually shouted Vinny. So clearly lots of very angry Madrid fans. And I think I understand how they feel, but I also feel like what's happened is Vinny has been overhyped going into the ceremony. It's almost like what he's done this season has been leveled up a bit too much, to the point of where people are saying, yes, he absolutely deserves it. Whereas actually I think it was a very close call between Rodri and Vinny. I think they were very close. Both had a fantastic season in different ways. But for some reason, people decided that Vinny was better by miles, which he wasn't. And let me just provide a little bit of more insight into that. So, Vinny Jr., that season, as far as I'm concerned, using the statistics I was able to find, he had 26 goals and 12 assists and 3 pens. Just for reference, Phil Foden, with 13 more appearances though, did also score 26 goals and 12 assists. And just for comparison, Mo Salah, with less minutes than Vinny, had 26 goals, 16 assists, but a lot more penalties. So I don't think that in terms of goal scoring, Vinicius was miles and miles clear of other players. Clearly, the stats don't prove that. And in terms of actual performances, it was fantastic. He scored a goal in the Champions League final. He scored a goal in the Champions League semi-final against Bayern Munich. He was a crucially important player for Madrid winning the Champions League and the La Liga. So certainly he had the credentials to win the Ballon d'Or. I think there's no denying that. But I also think that there's been a little bit of overhyping because, yes, he had a great season. I don't think he had a historic season. Like, I wouldn't compare it to Erling Haaland's season where he had 52 goals or to Messi's or Ronaldo's seasons, not even probably to Benzema's season, if I'm being honest. I think again, I'm saying Vinicius Jr. is a sensational talent. He more than deserves to be in the conversation for the Ballon d'Or. But I think Rodri also, you've got to respect Rodri. Rodri may not have the stats nor the goals. Obviously, he's a defensive midfielder, but he's got that class ability to control the midfield. And that in itself is not a smaller talent than Vini. Rodri will go into the kind of bracket of one of the best DMs of the century. Up there with Casemiro, up there with Roy Keane, up there with Patrick Vieira. He is at the very, very top as one of the best number sixes out there. Because the way he's able to control that midfield, control the tempo of the game, score goals, contribute in terms of assists, he has developed his own game to not just be excellent defensively, but he's also crucial to Man City's attack. And he completely transforms that side. And even though this season they're still top of the league without him, you can see the class difference in terms of what he can do on the pitch. And the ramifications of this will be seen further in the season. And even the Arsenal game when he got injured, Man City really, really struggled without him and his ability to impact the game, score big goals in big games, Champions League final goal, other important goals against Chelsea and other games. So there's no denying, I think, that Rodri is a sensational talent. And it's just so unfair how centre-backs, full-backs and goalkeepers and defensive midfielders are ignored often in the conversation for the Ballon d'Or. But I'm glad that Rodri has finally gotten this kind of recognition. Because, look, he was the player of the tournament on the Euros, which I think was a bit harsh. I think probably other players like Lamine Yamal deserved it more. But he was a crucial player in Spain winning the Euros. He also played a massive part in Man City's Premier League victory. And overall, what he performed in terms of being unbeaten in a record amount of games, what was it, 66 games or something? It's crazy. You've got to admire that. So I do think that Rodri deserves it. I don't think this is a robbery. Actually, it is a bit petty for Madrid to not even travel to the ceremony. You need to show respect. You need to show a level of respect for, who they're better than you. And I admit they will feel cheated. They might feel a bit robbed, but that's the point of football. You can't not win an award and then embargo it, right? Because when you were winning awards instead of other players, did anyone say that, right? In other seasons, when for instance Modric won in 2018, Mo Salah had a phenomenal season for Liverpool and he was completely neglected. So I don't think it's very fair to now suddenly pretend as if the Ballon d'Or is rigged. I mean, Messi shouldn't have won it before because Erling Haaland had a better season. Van Dijk should have won it instead of Messi. And then Lewandowski should have also won it instead of Messi. So I don't really think it makes much sense to pretend as if now the Ballon d'Or is rigged. No, I think the Ballon d'Or has its massive limitations. It's not done in a fair and objective way. It's voted by journalists, and oftentimes that's based on emotion and on names and on fame rather than on actual achievement. Because then please explain to me, where on earth is Virgil van Dijk and what is Ruben Dias doing in the nominations? What is Ruben Dias? What did Ruben Dias do better than Van Dijk? Van Dijk captained his team, scored a goal in the final, won a trophy for his team. He was impeccable for the vast majority of the season, was easily one of our best and most important players, most aerial duels won, scored big goals, was excellent defensively, most passes for a Liverpool player, and for some reason he gets absolutely neglected because he wasn't he didn't win any big trophies. And then for some reason Mo Salah being neglected, although he had a crazy number of goals as I proved earlier, and Nico Williams gets ahead of him. Other players who are nowhere near Salah's level are getting ahead of him. Of course, Salah once again being neglected, and even being neglected for the Best African Player awards. The fact that he wasn't even nominated is ridiculous. Some of those players I've never even heard of, and nonetheless, Salah and even Boniface missing out is just a joke. Absolute joke. But moving on from the Ballon d'Or, obviously, now it's time for the Premier League. And of course, yes, Man City are top of the league because Liverpool draw to Arsenal 2-2. Man City beat Southampton 1-0 in a surprisingly close game. Bizarre. Everyone expected Man City to absolutely obliterate Southampton, especially playing at home. You would expect Man City would obliterate them, but no. Bizarrely, Man City only get a 1-0 win thanks to a goal from, of course, the GOAT Erling Haaland. But fair play to Southampton for not conceding 9. The Liverpool-Arsenal game, I think, is probably the talking point. And I actually want to probably do a separate episode on Liverpool and Arsenal with the Arsenal fan to focus more on that game and go further into details and who is the stronger team, who can really challenge Man City. So keep an eye out. That should be coming out fairly soon once we do get the filming done. But talking about this game, you know, overall, I would say a point is a fair result for both teams. I would not say at all that Arsenal deserved to win or Liverpool deserved to win. It was a very evenly matched game. If you look at the stats, for instance, you know, Liverpool having 4 shots on target, Arsenal 3, but Arsenal had 1 more shot off target. So in terms of shots, it's the same then. Then in terms of possession, Liverpool had 55%, Arsenal 45%. Liverpool had 3 corners, Arsenal 1. So there's really not much to separate the teams. The goalkeepers, Ryan making 2 saves, Kelleher making 1 save. So it seemed like a very balanced game, and watching the game, first half, Arsenal mainly dominant. You know, they have the ball, they have possession, they're scoring goals, they're clinical, and they're brilliant. Liverpool are sloppy, giving the ball away, defending poorly, Van Dijk having some poor moments, playing onside Mikel Merino, Robertson not doing his job at all in the first half, letting Saka score that opener. But then in the second half, Liverpool up the press, Arsenal sit back, they start to waste some time. A couple of the key players, Gabriel and Timber, go off. Liverpool take the initiative and make it 2-2. I don't see any story around this game. I see an evenly matched game. But what's very interesting is what's been made out of this game. And I've been looking at AFTV, the Arsenal fan channel, which I do respect a lot. I respect the people there. I respect Robbie and Yarman and even Ty. But nonetheless, some of the nonsense I've been hearing about this game, absolute nonsense. First of all, people saying that the referee was cheating and it's a conspiracy theory. I've actually looked at this whole incident surrounding the Jesus goal at the end and how the referee Anthony Taylor blows the whistle. So essentially he blows the whistle, Arsenal play on, and in brackets score a goal. Of course it's not a goal because the referee, what happened is Kiwior jumps on top of Szoboszlai. Referee's uncertain. Couple seconds pass, he blows the whistle, Arsenal are in attack, they go forward with the ball, Kanate loses the header, then Havertz is battling for the ball, Trent tries to clear it, and then Jesus taps into empty net. So on the surface, there isn't much in it, right? It seems like a case of it's a soft foul given. It was a 50-50 because Kiwior does jump on top of Szoboszlai basically, but equally doesn't necessarily do anything wrong. So it's a close one there. And then the referee blows the whistle. So when the referee blows the whistle, that's it. You can't do anything against it. This isn't a penalty or a red card where you can apply VAR. If the referee gives the foul, you've got to stop playing. Arsenal keep on playing for 5 seconds and then score the goal. And Arsenal fans are now saying that actually that goal should have stood. How can the goal stand if he blew the whistle 5 seconds ago? You can see Van Dijk not tracking back and looking at the referee. Kanate literally turns around and looks at the referee after the whistle is blown. Kelleher just looks back at the referee. Only Trent is the one doing something about it. But you must understand that you can't, if the referee blows the whistle, that's it. All Liverpool defenders stop defending because he blows the whistle. You can clearly see that they're towards the end of that move. They are looking at the referee, not even looking at what's going on. And then Arsenal keep on playing like school children after the recess bell goes. And they're like, oh no, what's going on? Oh yeah, fair enough. I do think it was a bit harsh to give away that foul. But if the referee doesn't blow the whistle, everything happens differently. Liverpool's defense will be different. Kanate could have won the header. Then Van Dijk could have tracked back. So it's very unfair to just say that Arsenal were robbed because of this. They weren't robbed. I think Arsenal were legitimately, quite rightly, they were robbed, I think, both against Man City and Brighton, getting 2 very harsh red cards, fair enough. I also think that the Saliba challenge there was a potential question mark. It was a correct decision. The Saliba red card was a completely fair decision. What made it controversial was happened the next day with Tosin. If you take away the Tosin incident, the Saliba red card is 100% fine. And now Arsenal fans, because they've had a couple decisions go against them, because they're starting to feel like they're being the victims, now they're playing it again. In this game, a game which was absolutely normal, referee gives 14 fouls to Arsenal, 14 fouls to Liverpool. Seems like there were no major errors, no VAR disasters, and yet Arsenal fans are now making a massive controversy out of it, which only Arsenal fans seem to understand. You go look at the comment section of those videos, everyone's talking about how Arsenal fans are deluded. And I don't like to use that word. I don't like to label fans as deluded. But trying to make this game into a ref disaster is delusion, because it wasn't. Right? Yes, some fouls went the wrong way for both teams. In the beginning, Havertz was pulling at Van Dijk's shirt. Van Dijk slightly elbows him. He falls on the floor as if he got punched. Van Dijk gets a foul. Diaz fouled Partey several times. And actually, Arsenal scored the second goal from a foul given by Anthony Taylor. So I don't see the problem. Arsenal got the foul and they scored. Then later on, one of the Liverpool players kicks at Trossard from the back. And Trossard grabs his face, although actually he got hit at the side. So he's simulating. He's grabbing his face as if he got smacked in the face. Whereas actually what's happened is he got a slight brushing at the side. So when Arsenal fans started complaining that fouls weren't going their way, well, you had players going down all the time. The second half, David Raya gets booked for time wasting in the second half. You're up 2-1 at home. You're doing well, well done. You're doing well. The game's going your way. You're winning the game. If we actually now read into this, right? So Gabriel goes off injured on the 54th minute. And by then Arsenal are starting to sit back. They're starting to waste some more time. David Raya gets booked for time wasting on the 66th minute. And Arsenal players keep on going down. Julian Timber goes down a couple times. Then finally he gets replaced on the 76th minute by Miles Lewis-Skelly. So Arsenal fans keep on wasting more and more time. And eventually Liverpool do score on the 81st minute. By the way, excellent goal. Ball by Trent into Nunez, makes the run, cuts to Mo Salah, brilliant goal, boom. Equalizer, save the game. But I don't see what the problem is. Arsenal fans, what you must understand, it's not the refs which cost you the game. It's your own kind of performance. It's your own attitude in the second half. You're up 2-1 at home. You're going in the second half. Come on, go show some press, show some strength out there on the pitch. Press on. What you did is you sat back, you invited pressure, you started wasting time. Liverpool took the initiative and scored. And I agree that, of course, the injuries damaged Arsenal, but that leads me on to my next point. Arsenal fans claiming that Liverpool couldn't even beat Arsenal's B team. If you look at the start going into this game, both teams have injuries. Arsenal have got Odegaard injured, Calafiori injured, then Takehiro Tomiyasu injured, and then Kieran Tierney injured. Saliba was suspended, he was not injured. Right? That's his own fault for being suspended. Liverpool had Diogo Jota injured, who is our second best attacker, one of our most important players. Alisson Becker injured, who is arguably the best keeper in the world. Then you had Harvey Elliott being injured, who is a good bench option, as well as Federico Chiesa, yet another good attacking option. So Liverpool basically have 3 attackers injured as well. But for some reason, the narrative around this game is that for some reason, it's Arsenal who had the injuries. So what do you mean? So Liverpool's injuries don't count. Us not having our best goalkeeper, our best striker, doesn't count now. How is that not a problem? Of course, in the second half, Arsenal took on more injuries. And if you look at the lineup they had at the end, it was quite messed up. You had a youngster playing in defence, you had Kiwior at centre-back, Ben White at centre-back, Partey at right-back. It did seem a bit of a mess, and fair play to them, they defended well. But Liverpool did better in the second half. So I don't understand this whole narrative around Liverpool not even beating Arsenal's B team. Yes, Arsenal had a weaker team in the second half because some of their players got injuries. Liverpool capitalized on Arsenal's weaknesses and scored a goal to make it 2-2. What's that all about? Liverpool were much better in the second half and had more chances, more possession, and ultimately we scored a goal to equalize it. And we take a valuable point at the Emirates. Of course, we played terribly in the first half. The defending was shocking at times, but nonetheless, trying to paint this narrative of, oh, it's Arsenal with all the injuries. If we had a fully fit team, we would smash Liverpool. No, you can't claim that. If we had Alisson, we don't concede the first goal. If we had Jota, we score a third goal. If we had Elliott, we score a fourth. If we had Chiesa, we score 3 more. I can start also making up all sorts of narratives, so I don't understand this. I don't get that idea at all whatsoever. And the other Arsenal fans saying that Liverpool got lucky, I don't really see how. I don't think there were any major controversial decisions. I do think Arsenal fans are over-exaggerating what happened. Yeah, a couple fouls going the wrong way. It happens all the time. Against Champions League, Leipzig, we had a clear penalty not given on Nunez. We had some ridiculous fouls given the wrong way. McAllister being booked for getting fouled on. And then Nunez somehow not getting a penalty, which was so clear. He got clipped and it wasn't a penalty. So now, a couple fouls go the wrong way. Suddenly, the referees are a conspiracy and whatever it is. I think Anthony Taylor had a decent game. He controlled the game well. He didn't have to give out too many yellow cards. The game was fine. I don't see a problem at all. So I think this whole kind of Arsenal-Liverpool game has been turned into a controversy by Arsenal fans, when actually there was no controversy. And all the other fans, neutral fans, will agree and see that there's nothing there to be seen. There's no ref conspiracy. There's no nothing. And yeah, injuries are part of the sport. Cope with it. You're playing at home. You've got to use that advantage. You didn't in the second half. Fair play in the first half. Well, not so fair play in the second half. Shouldn't have been time wasting on the 66th minute. That's a very stupid idea. Time wasting with half an hour left to go. So I think overall fair play to Arsenal. I think the spoils are shared, but unfortunately Man City do take the lead at the top of the Premier League. Arguably they are a little bit, no, they're very lucky. They are actually very, very lucky, because if Adama Traore had at least somewhat of a finishing ability, that Fulham game could have been completely different. The Wolves game, a very controversial winner by John Stones, because Bernardo Silva was impeding Jose Sa. He was interfering with the line of play, and just because he's short doesn't mean he isn't interfering, because he is. Jose Sa has to push away Bernardo Silva a little bit, and that distracts him, puts him off. And now Man City beats Southampton and they go top of the league. And of course, the rather controversial game at the Emirates where Trossard was sent off. You can argue he kicks the ball away, but overall, I think Man City are lucky to be where they are. They did edge some games very close, 2-1, 1-0. Those are close results. They barely got those points against Arsenal and against Wolves, but nonetheless, I think there's a lot of games ahead. We're going to play them at home quite soon, so I look forward to that. That's going to be a very, very interesting game. In terms of other results, so Chelsea beating Newcastle. Newcastle really struggling there. They're down in 12th place. But of course, the talking point will be Manchester United and Erik ten Hag. Man United losing 2-1 to West Ham. And I actually did a video about this last night at 2 a.m. because I anticipated that Erik ten Hag could be sacked on Monday. So I wanted to put that video out there beforehand, provide my analysis. And now we get, of course, today in the afternoon, early afternoon, we got the news that Erik ten Hag has been sacked. Ruud van Nistelrooy is the interim manager, and Man United have contacted Ruben Amorim, and they're in conversations there. I think it comes as no surprise. I think it was logical and rational to keep Ten Hag in the summer. I also think it made sense to keep him up until now. You had to give him a chance to try to do something. You invested your energy, your time, 200 million, all these signings, De Ligt, Mazraoui, Onana, Anthony, all these signings you made for Ten Hag. You can't just say, all right, it failed, let's move on too early. You've got to try it out and do your best. And well done to Ineos for actually persevering with Ten Hag so long, for showing a bit of patience. You aren't acting based on emotion and rashness. They did clearly think about it. They waited for it, and when the time was right, they sacked him. So I think that the timing of the sacking is not bad. And Ruud van Nistelrooy is more than competent to be an interim manager. But correctly, as Mark Goldbridge said, he shouldn't be a manager till the summer, because then that's basically you're wasting the rest of the season. Ruud van Nistelrooy doesn't necessarily have the credentials to be Man United manager. He's only had one decent season at PSV. So Ruben Amorim is an interesting choice. He's a rather interesting coach. He's quite young. He's got a lot of potential. He did some fantastic things at Sporting. He's got a very nice style of play. But I think the problem with Ruben Amorim is the lack of experience at the top level, the lack of experience dealing with top players, and being able to handle that aggressive media. You need to have some stature to stand up against the media. And that's arguably something that Ten Hag kind of failed to do. I don't think he necessarily dealt with the media quite well. Talking about the 2 trophies in 2 years is a bit silly, especially when you're 14th place in the league with a -3 goal difference, with 4 defeats. 21st place in Europa League, not a single win in Europe in a year. Although I don't want to talk about that stat. No, 1 year, no win in Europe. Because out of that 1 year, whatever it is, they literally did not play for like 9 months. So undeniably terrible record in Europe. Very bad in the Premier League. The only positives were Barnsley and Southampton and maybe Brentford and maybe Fulham. But out of 14 games to have only a few decent games is bad. So rightly so, he's been sacked. He's clearly lost the support of the players. They've given up on him. They just don't perform. Nothing has worked out. The signings have massively failed. Ugarte, £60 million, barely played. Then Matthijs de Ligt, clearly not living up to the price tag. Only Mazraoui has been a decent signing so far. Lenny Yoro, very unfortunately, has been injured. And then Joshua Zirkzee, 44 million, number 9, number 10, 9.5, whatever he says he is. 1 goal and 1 assist. And that's just not enough. That's nowhere near enough when you are leading the line for Manchester United. So I think that Ruben Amorim would not be the right decision for them. I think he's not experienced enough. I would say that Julian Nagelsmann is a better fit. He's managed Bayern Munich. He's obviously been at the top level. So I think that will help him. I think Xabi Hernandez is also a better option because he's got that stature. He's won La Liga. He's dealt with some big name players. That will be useful, I think, in being able to stand up to the media, assert your authority in front of the players, and ultimately have enough coaching experience to do well. So as a Liverpool fan, I'd love for United to take on Amorim and then not do well. I would be a lot more fearful if United got a really good manager like Simone Inzaghi, or if they actually managed to, of course it's not going to happen, but someone like Zinedine Zidane or Carlo Ancelotti. I think if they join United, hypothetically, that would be truly quite worrying. But Ruben Amorim doesn't really worry me. So if they get him, fine. Get him and we'll beat you at Anfield even more. So therefore, I think this is a good episode. I don't want to make these episodes way too long. I promise to get into more of the other teams in later episodes because I do want to also talk about the lower teams. It's unfair. I mean, technically, Manchester United is in the bottom half, so I'm talking about the lower teams. But realistically speaking, I do also want to cover other teams. So I do wish everyone all the best. I hope you have a great evening and see you soon.